Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Generation Z podcast. This is episode 25. And in this episode, me and Marcus wanted to cover the 5 ways to avoid mediocrity. The scope of this discussion is going to be largely based off of a recent book that Marcus has read called The Miracle Morning, which discusses a lot about the reality check that a lot of people need to start having kind of in their lives to then project kind of a greater future, because a lot of people, I believe, are in that state of mediocrity where they have a combination of a drive to kind of excel. They have visions, they have dreams that they want to achieve, but as humans we have that biological urge to just settle for what's comfortable and set in our comfort zone because we're kind of content there, and there's not many risks involved with being in the comfort zone. So we're going to try and highlight these 5 ways to avoid mediocrity in your life, and then hopefully from then you can push on to kind of, or get that drive essentially to go past mediocrity and make something better of yourself, really.
So if you enjoyed today's podcast and find value in what we talk about and want to hear more of this kind of stuff, then subscribe or follow us on whatever platform you're listening on. We also have a YouTube channel if you prefer to watch the podcast, and we do have a Facebook and Instagram page. All our links will be in the description. So, as you said, it's from the book The Miracle Morning. And just before we get into the 5 main causes of mediocrity and how to overcome them, it starts with something called the 95% reality check. And I briefly touched on this in a previous podcast. I can't remember what one it was now, but it was a few weeks ago. But basically, it's 95% of our society is not happy with where they are in life. And they settle for far less than what they want and what they're capable of. So most people live wishing they could have been and done more and end up living with regret. And when you think about that, 95%.
I know, that's such a huge percentage of the population.
Just what a waste of a life, basically.
And you can kind of see actually see the 5% of people who don't settle for mediocrity, and those are the successful, famous celebrities that you kind of see nowadays.
Exactly, mate. So this 95% figure comes from a bit of research done by the Social Security Administration, and this is in the US. So if you take 100 people at the start of their career and follow them through the next 40 years until they reach their retirement age, you'll find that only 1 will be considered wealthy, 4 will be financially secure, 5 will continue to work, even if they do want to retire just because they don't have enough money, so they're forced to carry on working. 54 will be considered poor or broke. So they'll be depending on friends, family, or government support. And 36 will be dead.
Yeah. Like the fact that you said 4 people out of 100 will be financially secure. To me, that is mental, because you hear so many people having aspirations of wanting to be financially secure and having kind of financial freedom. But only 4 out of 100 people from that study turn out. That's mental, isn't it?
Yeah, so 4 are financially secure, and then there would be 1 of those people as well that was considered wealthy, so obviously more than financially secure. But basically what it means is obviously 95% of people struggle their entire life, and 5% of people, monetarily speaking, will make it. That means if you want to be average, well, average is not fulfilling your potential and struggling through most of your life. And when it comes down to it, if you don't want to be average, they need to do things and think a certain way that average people don't think. So of course that's going to be, meaning people might not fully understand you the way that you think. People might stand out a bit. People might not like the way you act, but ultimately you don't want to be average. Average isn't good.
exactly. There's no point thinking about the opinions of people that are living a mediocre life and letting them tell you what you can and can't do,
Yeah,
because they've decided, they've made that choice to be mediocre and be in a 9 to 5 job and kind of just get that money, live for the weekend, spend it, and have that process repeating. But hopefully we, in this podcast, as we go into these steps, we can kind of show you symptoms of mediocrity so that you can kind of get them out of your life and start living a better, more fulfilling life.
yeah. So in the book, it covers, I think, maybe 7 or 8 causes of mediocrity, but I've just picked the 5 points that I think are most important, basically. So the first one is called rear view mirror syndrome. So our subconscious mind is equipped with a self-limiting rear view mirror through which we constantly relive and recreate our past. So we may mistakenly believe that who we were is who we are. So we limit our potential based on what we've done in the past. So if you haven't maybe done a certain thing before, you think, oh, because I haven't done it before, or maybe I've done it before and I failed, that means I can't do it.
Yeah.
Basically.
And that sounds very similar to what we discussed about the ego.
Yeah.
How we continue to live in past experiences that they have no value now because they've gone and passed and there's nothing that you can do about them. But yeah, there are a lot of people that kind of recreate and live in the past constantly.
Yeah.
And that's not good for you.
It's getting you nowhere.
It's not. It's really not.
A quote that I found the other day, which I really like, is from Alan Watts. If anybody knows him, it's pretty cool. It's just, you're under no obligation to be who you were 5 minutes ago. Like you can literally change who you are and how you want to perceive whenever you want.
Yeah.
So
it's controlling your emotions, isn't it?
Yeah, literally. So if you suddenly want to identify as somebody that goes to the gym, right? Well, then you've done it. Just because you weren't that person 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Nobody can stop you from saying that, oh, well, I go to the gym now.
Yeah.
It's down to you.
Yeah. And now that and also when you say that, you can get up, get on the bus or whatever, and go to the gym.
Yeah. It's not this thing of, oh, well, I'm somebody who's wanting to be that person who goes to the gym.
Yeah.
No, you just are that person. You just become that person. Like,
it's the difference between I want and I am. A lot of people say, I want to be successful. I want to kind of I want to be like a higher level from when I was a month ago or whatever. But I think if you were to say, I am successful, I am all this stuff, I think that kind of changes yourself and like your self-talk as well, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Now, that's also kind of what the law of attraction kind of things like as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the main thing here is that most people set a goal, and because they can't see their current selves doing it, they consider it impossible. But as I said, like, your current self isn't fixed. You can change that whenever you want.
Yeah.
So people have between 50,000 and 60,000 thoughts each day. And this is something that is also crazy. For most people, 95% of their thoughts are the same as they were yesterday. So if you're thinking the same thing every day, how can you expect different results and to grow as a person?
And that's also your mind kind of controlling you in a sense, because that's what I learned from reading The Power of Now, is excessive thought of the past means that you're kind of living in the past all the time. And it puts you so far back because you're not actually doing anything. You're just thinking about what happened a year ago, 2 years ago, or even recently. But if you just switch that round and it was 95% of the thoughts you're having are in this present moment, imagine how much that would benefit you.
Literally, mate, it's so true. Like, as you said in the beginning, living in the past is possibly the worst possible thing you can do. It gets
Yeah,
you nowhere, and you just waste your time, basically.
yeah.
But
Especially if your past isn't very kind of a good past. It's not a
yeah,
past that you kind of enjoy reflecting on. So
yeah,
snap out of it. Don't
yeah,
think about it.
yeah. And your past is unrelated to your future. Like that's been and gone. You can't change
Hmm.
it. So that's not related to your future anymore. And your current situation is just the result of your past mindset and action. So
Yeah,
everything you've done in your past has led you to this point.
yeah,
So maybe you aren't happy with where you are right now, or think about your previous actions and thoughts, right? They're probably perfectly aligned with where you are right now. So if you want a
hmm,
different future, then you change your thoughts and you change your actions, and then your future is
exactly.
changed. Does that
Yeah,
make sense? Yeah.
yeah. No, yeah. I like this. This is we're getting
Getting a
we're
bit
getting
deep on this.
yeah, we're getting detailed here.
How have we gone from speaking about bulking last
Yeah,
week to this?
yeah. People just coming onto the podcast for the first time. It's just like they don't know what's coming
But
next.
we like
Just
to switch up a bit,
unpredictability.
mate. So the next thing, which I could really relate to, and you might be able to relate to as well, especially as uni students, is just lack
Yeah,
of purpose. So
very true. Yeah, 100%.
it's especially first year for me. It was
Hmm.
very much a case of take one day at a time. You have no real other purpose than just to get through that day.
Hmm.
You're not really thinking about, oh, what am I doing next week? What
Yeah.
are my plans for next month or whatever? You literally wake up, all right, I'll go to my lecture, I'll kind of chill in the house for a bit, watch some
Mm.
TV. All right, yeah, it's probably
Yeah.
time to go to bed now. You
Yeah.
have no real purpose to your
And
life.
you also, in turn, you have no goals.
No, you don't.
And I've read a recent book called Psycho-Cybernetics, and
Mm,
one of the phrases that it kept talking about is that human beings are goal-striving animals. We're always looking for a goal to achieve. No, how small it is, it's we're always attacking goals every day. So, for example, you want to make food. You you go into the kitchen, you get all the ingredients, you make your
yeah,
food, and there's your meal, and that's like goal complete. It's like, and we always have like little goals throughout the day. So if you don't have any goals and you're lacking a purpose, then generally you're not going to be very happy, I don't think.
yeah, that's so true. Like as you were saying about goals, it's why think of somebody who's really rich, right? That's like Jeff Bezos,
Yeah,
yeah, the owner of Amazon, right?
yeah,
He's made more than enough money, right?
yeah.
He doesn't need to do anything.
No.
But so
But
why does he
he's
carry on working?
constantly, because that's his purpose, isn't it? It's to get
Yeah,
his business to the top ever.
exactly.
Like,
If you've
yeah,
got no goals, then you literally cannot enjoy life because you're not going anywhere. And if you're not going anywhere, you're probably either just staying the same as
yeah.
you are, which is kind of boring, or you're like going back the way, which is even
Staying in your comfort zone.
exactly, mate. So visualize what you want your life to be like and work towards that. And as I said before, you need to align your thoughts with your
Mm,
actions.
exactly, yeah. I think
Uh,
visualization is really powerful.
mm,
Uh, Fraser spoke about it in our recent interview. He
yeah,
visualized, he used kind of the law of attraction and visualization to kind of bring opportunities into his life. And you do realize when you start visualizing what you want your future self to be like, and you kind of have an aim, as we said, you have a purpose, you have a higher kind of being that you want to work towards, things start to fall into place in your life. And you kind
yeah,
of go, oh, Jesus, like this happened today, and I never thought that that would kind of happen. And that's just because you're like visualizing and you're
yeah. And
kind
you've
of
got
on a
clarity.
path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you know what you want, right, you
Mm.
can be like, I want to be doing this in a year. All right. Then like kind of reverse engineer it, if you know what I mean. All right. So 12 months, I've got that to do, right? What can I do in those 12 months? What 12 tasks? And suddenly you
Yeah.
just went, right, that's what I've got to do each month, right? What do I do each week? Suddenly, if you have a goal for each week, then you can kind of work towards something. You're never just waking up
Exactly.
and just going, oh, well, another day. Like,
Yeah, yeah. It's just like, oh fucking hell! It's Monday. Like
yeah,
at the end of the day, a Monday has got 24 hours a day. You can do everything in a Monday than you can do in a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Thursday, Tuesday.
exactly, mate.
We still have 24 hours. Like,
Exactly. And obviously, like, it's not just easy to go, all right, this is my life purpose, or
yeah,
that's my
it's
massive goal.
difficult to find
Yeah,
one.
I'll be honest, I don't know where I'm going to be in a year. I know roughly, yeah, but
Hmm.
like, you don't
But
have
you've
it.
started thinking about it
No,
now, which is gonna
yeah,
help.
but also just leaning on from that, if you can't find a life purpose or have a big goal to work towards, as I said, it's not easy to find. But something you can just do is just try and become like the best possible version of yourself,
Yeah,
basically. And
that's
that's what I've
probably
been
the.
trying to do the last couple
Hmm.
of months through self-development, reading, starting this podcast, whatever.
Hmm. That's probably the best place to start for people that don't know how to find a purpose, is
Yeah,
just thinking about where they want to be or what their life situation is going to be like in 6 months' time, and just start constantly grinding to get where you are. I think it's also good to kind of just maybe split it down into maybe like, so I'm thinking about your best version of yourself. Maybe split it down to improvements in your health, improvements in your financial situation, improvements in your kind of passion that you're kind of working towards, or your projects that you've got going on outside of university or whatever. That's going to give you direction. And once you're on that path, it's just down to you to constantly put the work in, I think.
yeah, I didn't actually think about that, but that's a good point. Yeah, splitting it up into like different areas of your life.
Mm,
But yeah, if you dedicate just even a tiny bit of time each day to, I don't know, reading about something, educating yourself on something, it doesn't seem like a lot. 5 minutes every day over a year. Think
yeah,
how different you'd be by the end of that year compared to the person you would have been if you were just, again, having the same thoughts, being the same person. It's going to be a
100%.
drastic difference.
Mm-hmm.
But that kind of leads on to the next thing, which is isolating incidents. So this is like a quote from the book. We mistakenly assume that each choice we make and each individual action we take is only affecting that particular moment or circumstance. But actually, each individual thing you do each day determines who you're becoming, and who you're becoming is your future.
Mm-hmm.
So if we take, like, this doesn't have to just be like business or whatever. If you did it for fitness, right?
Yeah.
Say you had, say you're on a diet, right? And you're meant to be eating 2,500 calories every day, and it gets to the end of the day, and you think, "Oh, I want that biscuit. It's only 50 calories."
Yeah.
You isolate that incident. You think, "Oh, that's just 50 calories. That's fine, right? I'll have that." Next day, you do the same. Oh, it's just 50 calories. Third day, do the same. Do that. Guess what?
Mm.
After a month, you've had what, like an extra 10,000
Yeah.
calories. Do you know what I mean? It adds
Yeah.
up. And
100%.
suddenly, you're a kg heavier than you could have been. So it's not just that little
Mm-hmm.
thing, because that little thing is determining who you're becoming.
I also think you can kind of use that situation in terms of maybe broaden it out and maybe think in the context of students that are going out. So you have a situation where someone calls you or texts you and goes, "Oh, let's go pub," and then you go, "Yeah, I'll go this one time. I haven't seen everybody in a while, or I haven't been in a while. Let's go. I'll go have a couple pints, do whatever." While you're still trying to focus on your fitness goals, going to the beer or going to the booze is probably not the best thing. But I
Yeah.
think and then your mates could potentially say the next day, be like, "We're going down the pub again. Do you want to join?" And then you say, "Oh, it's only the pub," and then
Yeah.
as you said, it keeps stacking on, and over the span of the week, you'd probably be a lot further back in terms of your fitness goals. You may not think it in that incident. You may just be like, "Oh, 2 beers," but over the
Yeah.
course of the week, if you go, let's say 3 times a week, that's like 6 beers. That's And it adds up, even
Adds
though it's
up
only
so
6
quickly.
beers. It's like it's the small incremental, as you said, isolated incidences that just kind of stack up and that just aren't good for you, I don't think.
Yeah, that's so true. So, as we said, there's those ways of thinking of it as like little things that build up over time, but you also have things where, say, you have a task that you don't really think it's not that important. I can just leave that,
Yeah.
and you think of just that's just one little incident I don't really need to worry about.
Yeah.
And in the book, obviously, it's called The Miracle Morning, and it's talking about morning routine and stuff like that. It's saying if you know you need to do something but keep putting it off, and you allow your subconscious mind to think it's okay not to follow through on things. So the example it gives in the book is you wake up and you snooze your alarm, right? Suddenly you're telling yourself, "Oh, I don't really need to get up." Like even though I've put that alarm on to tell myself to get up, I'm not going to listen to it. I'm going to snooze it. You snooze it again. You snooze it again. You keep on telling yourself you're going to get up, and you keep on telling yourself again that it's all right. You don't really need to do it. And then say you have a phone call that you need to make later that day because you've already told yourself, oh, you don't actually need to follow through on what you're saying.
Yeah.
Suddenly, I don't really need to make that phone call.
You're in that mode, aren't you?
Exactly. So that's another thing that builds up over time, and maybe suddenly those little things that you don't need doing turn into big things that you stop doing. Like,
yeah, exactly. I think it's this point kind of shows a lack of discipline, self-discipline in particular, just not holding yourself. Oh, my mic fucking fell off. Not holding yourself accountable. I don't think a lot of people don't want to have that response. They don't want to feel any responsibility because all these isolating moments can just stack up and they can kind of just brush it under the carpet and not really take much notice of it. But yeah, as you said, it's going to get to those points where these small situations may turn into big situations or they may even turn into goals that you've set yourself at the start of the day. You've set yourself a goal and then you just haven't achieved it and you've put it off. And then, as we said, that just goes back into the cycle of having no purpose, and just being in mediocrity, because what you're doing essentially is you're not smashing your goals, and then you're letting these isolated incidents kind of get over you and basically just push you in the direction of mediocrity. So yeah, I think isolating incidents is quite difficult for a lot of people to get a hold of.
Yeah, and isolating incidents is, like, as you said, if you set a goal and then you kind of keep putting it off. I'm going to touch on that. The fifth point as well about lack of urgency, but we'll do the next point is mediocre circle of influence, and we've already done a podcast basically all around this, which is the toxic relationship.
I think this is a huge one for people.
Yeah, so toxic like relationships, toxic friendships, basically the importance of your environment. So in that podcast, obviously, we said that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you don't want to be like literally think of the people you're hanging around with. Do you either want to be like them, or do you want to follow the trajectory that their life's going in? If you think about them, think, where do you see them in a few years' time? It sounds very judgmental, but sometimes it needs to be done. If you don't think, right, he's probably not going to be the person I need to be around, get out of there. Either limit your time or just get out of there.
Yeah. And obviously a lot of people will find that difficult but I think it's not easy at all, but in the long run it's going to benefit you so much, because being a product of your environment, you being the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, if they are constantly being negative, judgmental, don't have any sort of aspirations for the future, they're kind of going along the lines of, I just want to go into like a 9-to-5 job and all that sort of stuff.
And there's nothing wrong with a 9-to-5 job. I just throw it out there.
But I don't think being in a 9-to-5 job for your whole life,
Mm.
is worth it. There's a lot more to live for than being in a 9-to-5 job your whole life. But yeah, like if you're surrounded around these people, you're not going to be any different. We said in that podcast, you are a sponge,
Yeah.
essentially, and people's attitudes and feelings towards life rub off on you. So I think it would a good solution to this point of avoiding mediocrity is networking and kind of looking out for people who are successful, who are doing well, who are motivating, who are inspiring you, and just reach out and kind of be willing to learn about how they've got to that position, or just being friends with them and just being close, because then their positive kind of aspirations and influence is going to rub off on you. And it's just a back and forth cycle of positivity and kind of, I don't know, upward trajectory towards a better version of you.
Yeah, that's a massive one, like networking, which is one of the reasons I'm so glad we started this podcast, mate. Because obviously we've only had 2 guests on, but we got some big ones and all that.
We've got some big ones coming.
And but just finding like one of people like that. Obviously, it's good to get talking to them, see how they operate, but also from putting out podcasts, I've had certain people follow me and I've followed them, where we're kind of on the same wavelength. We like the same kind of stuff, think in similar ways. Yeah. And suddenly social media comes from this thing where it's usually a big distraction. So you go on there and you can kind of be like, oh, he's doing that. I can kind of take inspiration from that. That's a good idea. People message you saying like, keep it up, whatever. Yeah. It becomes something good rather than something bad.
Yeah, so to end this point off, I think one thing that we want to drive home to people is don't let your fears, insecurities, or limiting beliefs of others limit what you can kind of potentially do right now. You can make that decision right now to start to distance yourself or limit your time with these people that are kind of influencing a negative or a lower grade version of yourself. And I think in this instance, a lot of people kind of have to be selfish, and it's a good selfish.
Yeah.
Because it's going to benefit you in the long run if you start to distance yourself from these people that aren't potentially adding any sort of value to your life, and having a long-term kind of view on it, because you may not even be with these people in 5 years' time, or you probably won't even be in contact with them in 10 years' time. So are you going to waste a couple of years or a number of years being associated with these people when you could have made that snap judgment right now? As we said at the start, make that snap judgment and kind of just distance yourself. I think you're going to see a lot of benefits if you do that.
Yeah, and actually just touch on that, like, I'm not saying like cut off your mates or anything, but I genuinely believe you'd be better off with no mates and working on yourself than be surrounded by 2 or 3 people that are just constantly negative, don't want to do anything, because they'll put you in a bad position. Whereas if you work on yourself, you'll be 100%. In a better position.
Yeah, I think just to end off that point of what you were saying, I think I would like to just throw out a challenge to people that are listening. Spend 6 months right now working on yourself. Just dedicate 6 months, have no outside influences or kind of distractions, and have 6 months where you're just working on yourself, whether it's financially, fitness wise, in the gym, business, all that sort of stuff. Just give yourself 6 months and see where your life could be like in 6 months' time.
Yeah, you'll be shocked. Like,
you'll be shocked.
6 months of work on yourself can get you major places, I think. And if anybody, obviously, as you said, like working out, self-development, any of that, if you want any like tips on what books to start reading or something, drop us a DM. Got any questions 100%. About training, nutrition, drop us a DM, you can get started. I'm telling you, even just through reading books, I think as Fraser said, like a book can get you 5 years ahead.
It truly can. It truly can. And people don't really know where to start. So I think definitely drop us a DM, and me and Marcus are on like the self-development and investing in ourselves sort of path at the moment. So we've got plenty of recommendations that we can give everyone. So
yes, mate.
That's no problem at all.
Exactly. So 5th and final point is lack of urgency. So this is living with that someday mentality. So thinking life will suddenly fall into place, right?
Given to you on a silver platter, your house, nice house, holidays every year.
It's exactly what I used to think.
Yeah,
Uni, I was just like, oh yeah, I'll just finish uni and just like make money. Like, that's how it works, is it? No, you
actually haven't got to put the work in, mate.
So you probably end up with a big surprise and sudden realization that, oh, you're telling me the last 5 years of my life have been a waste. Yeah. I know that sounds condescending, but literally, like, this is me 6-7 months ago or something. Like, I was literally in this position, so I don't think I'm just being a judgmental twat. I'm not. I'm just saying like how it is.
100%.
Yeah, you're just going to end up living procrastinating your whole life, putting things off. Literally, as we said before with isolating incidences, it's that, oh, I'll do that tomorrow. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. It comes tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
It never gets done, right? It's that someday mentality. I'll get around to it someday.
You think about how quick time goes, especially at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm looking back to the start of lockdown. It was February. That was, what's that, 7 months now?
Mid-March, to be fair.
Or was it mid-March? Okay, so it's about 5.5 months. Think how quick 5.5 months has gone. And every day, if you were to have that lack of urgency and pushing everything back to the next day, to the next day, to the next day, the years are going to be ticking. And you'll be in the same place where you were a couple of years ago. And if you don't like the place where you are right now, then constantly procrastinating and pushing things to the next day, you're just gonna stay there. There's no way you can move without not doing the work.
Literally, and this is what I was kind of saying on about earlier, like aligning your visions with your actions type thing. Like, what you're doing now is determining who you're becoming. So say you go, I want to be this kind of person in a month, and you do the exact same thing as you're doing right now, you're not going to be that sudden new person. And like, how would that work? How are you suddenly going to become somebody when you're doing exactly the same thing every day?
100%.
You need to change your path.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it goes back to one quote that we keep saying on this podcast, and this is Marcus's favourite. If you do not know, you are going to die.
You're gonna die, mate.
It's gonna happen, okay?
It's inevitable.
And it's inevitable, Neil. And at the end of the day, the time is ticking, and if you're constantly ticking down the years and procrastinating and having that mentality of, oh, I'm going to do it someday, you will not get anywhere. And you want to look back on your life when you're 80 or 85, when there's nothing that you can really do, and you don't want to have that regret of being like, why did I just procrastinate for the best years that you kind of have at the moment? So I'd say personally 20 to 30 is the 10 years where that can literally change your life.
So true.
You can either like jump on the rocket and go up, or you can jump in a submarine and just like go fucking down. And, you know what I mean?
See you later, mate.
See you later. No one's seeing you down in the ocean, but they can see you doing well when you're in the rocket up there. You know what I mean?
It's true though, but you were saying like you don't want to look back when you're 80. Well, another thing is, I can guarantee it sounds a bit shit. At least one of you listening to this podcast isn't going to make it to 80. All right? that sounds deep.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
true, all right?
Yeah.
It's not true.
Unfortunately,
From a
that's
factual standpoint, the
mm,
chances are not everybody listening to this is going to make it to 80,
mm.
all right?
And that's a mad realization to have
It
for some
is.
people.
I think death is such good motivation.
Mm.
I think, like, it's that kind of thing. Not wishing this on anybody, right? Say tomorrow you get a sudden like terminal illness.
Yeah.
What have you done with your life where you can be like, oh, I've lived life to the fullest? No, you probably think, oh, I've just spent my life playing Xbox,
And
something like that. Do you know
and
what I mean?
also, yeah, and on the other hand, imagine kind of not doing anything, then being struck with that awful news, and then being like, right, now I have to make my life something, even though you're like you've been hit so hard by like a tragic event, or you've come really ill, or something's happened to you that's kind of worsened your life situation. You should don't wait for that, or it might not happen, but don't
Yeah, I
wait
know what
for
you mean.
something bad to happen to you before you have that realization.
Yeah, it's so
Okay,
true.
I'm living a life of mediocrity, and if I continue, my life is going to be full of mediocrity. Don't wait for that situation. After
Exactly.
this podcast, just make the switch and be like, right, I don't want to live a mediocre life. I
Yeah,
don't want to be looking back at 80 and being like, like
didn't
it
really
was
do anything.
alright.
Yeah.
Like you can't have that. You
You want to
cannot
be in
have
that
that.
top 5%, mate. Not the
That is the
99th.
aim. Top 5% in the world.
But another pretty cool thing that I found like a couple of weeks ago now or something was time actually speeds up relatively as you get older. So for a 10-year-old, right,
Yeah,
they think, oh, a year is a really long time. That's a tenth of my life. Like a year goes by quickly.
yeah,
You'll probably hear your gran or somebody be like, oh, I can't believe it's been a year. Well, when you're
yeah.
100, a year is a 100th of your life. All right. So when you think about it compared to the rest of your life, time speeds up as you get older. So you probably
Mm,
realize, oh, I'm 20, I've got loads of time now. Before you know it, you're 30. And then when you're 30, even
yeah,
quicker, 40 comes around. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
And if you were to be like procrastinating between, as I said, the 20 to 30 bracket, where you're staying in that comfort zone of being in a 9 to 5 job and not even trying or taking a risk to see what could potentially happen. You don't know what your life is going to be like until you make a change. I think as human beings, we're very risk averse. We're very, if there's something risky, we're going to take, or if we have two options, we're going to take the easiest
yeah,
option possible, because we don't like the unknown.
yeah,
But unfortunately, mediocrity, if you're going to be living in a state of mediocrity in your life, that shows kind of, to me, is that nobody's taking risks. Nobody
yeah,
wants to take that risk.
yeah. And the sad thing is, like, you see it as a risk, but really it's,
A lesson potentially.
yeah, like it's only really good that can come from it because then you can escape mediocrity rather than
Mm.
just sitting in it, if you get what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But I think
100%.
another thing is it's probably best to do or try something when we're around our age because say 15 years time you're going to have maybe like a wife and kids and
Yeah.
suddenly all your time is being taken up with that. So
Yeah.
as you get older, I think more responsibilities, the less time you have to spend on yourself, basically.
100%, mate.
But
I agree.
I think we can just kind of wrap up this kind of last point with kind of what I said earlier. Like you're under no obligation to be who you were 5 minutes ago. Like you're really
Mm-hmm.
not. So you can change who you are and what direction your life is going in whenever you want. Like there is nothing stopping you from just saying, I want to do this now. I want to do that. It's literally down to you.
Mm-hmm.
And when you stop just accepting, oh, I'm just mediocre, when you think, oh, well, I can do that if I want, suddenly it changed the whole dynamic of it.
It does. It can propel your life so much if you were to just kind of be honest with yourself and be like, as we said in, I think it was the second point, having a purpose. If you were to think, if you wanted to have a better version, or cast a better version of yourself in 6 months' time, you're not going to achieve that by being mediocre and by limiting your ability and potential to just sticking in your comfort zone. What we're trying to say out of this podcast is step out your comfort zone. Get used to stepping out of your comfort zone on a daily basis, because then that's going to be able to allow you to do is you're going to be able to kind of have a constant log of situations where you've been outside your comfort zone, and those lessons, whether it's a success, whether it's a failure, you're going to learn.
Experience, yeah.
It's experience, and you're not going to get that if you don't take risk. And people kind of need to change their perception of risk. I think we could potentially do another podcast on risk, because that is, I think risk is quite heavily tied towards like mediocrity, I'd say.
Pretty much.
So yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
Send us a DM if you want us to talk about taking risks.
But yeah, I think he's pretty much gone through everything now. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I think if you enjoyed this podcast and want to see more of this kind of stuff, like especially as you said, maybe one risk, do just drop us a DM, either one of us or on our page. I'll get around to making it. But hope you enjoyed. If you did, share it with a mate who would also like this kind of stuff. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.
Peace.